Very good. They worked really hard on this for sure. It does have some problems, but oh well. It seems to still have just about every day this season. Today is Valentine's Day. As I neared the apartment, someone else came out through the auto-walking door. I exchanged a quick greeting with them and proceeded inside. I wonder what Usami is up to right now. It would certainly be comedic if she was making handmade chocolate. I stepped off the elevator and made my way to the front door. I pushed the button for the intercom.
Hi!
A joyful feminine voice responded in kind.
早かったですね。
Her footsteps pattered as she rushed through the door. It was burning with anticipation. I couldn't wait to see her. A sweet aroma wafted through the ventilation.
今開けますよ。
The door slowly drifted open. I could almost say that I missed the girl that stood there before me. Her eyes were closed. I suppose she was expecting a welcome back kiss or something of the sort. I jammed my foot in the open doorway and greeted her.
会いたかったよ、宇佐美。
Epilogue Spring. I couldn't even begin to describe Usami's face at that moment. It was like a blanket of snow that had once melted suddenly decided to freeze over again. Haru. Telling me to go out and buy vanilla extract. Yet here I am regardless, on my way back from being her errand boy. My phone suddenly rings. Since I lost my old one, I had to buy a replacement. I answer it on the off chance it might be a client.
どうも坊ちゃん。
Oh, worry me. I take it they decided on a date for father's funeral then.
それはまあいいんですがね。いやね、坊ちゃんに聞いてもしょうがねえことなのかもしれませんがね。
I'm listening.
手前の古文に幹久ってのがいるんですがね。知りませんかね。
No, the name doesn't ring any bells. What about him?
そうっすか。ですよね。あの野郎、どこに消えちまったんだ。
Disappear?
あのセントラル街での事件以来、行方不明になっちまったんです。
I have a bad feeling about this. When was the last time you saw him?
やつはほら封鎖を解くためにバスを動かしたじゃないですか。その運転を命じてたんですがね。
The bus. My mind went back to the scene. I watched with my own eyes as a man crawled from the bus, enveloped in a pillar of flame. Oh my god.
どうしました?
We'll talk about this later. I canceled the call. Without so much as closing my phone, I dialed Haru's number. The first attempt, Haru did not pick up. The second attempt, Haru did not pick up. She was supposed to be at home making chocolate, and yet I wasn't getting any answer at all. I dropped my shopping bags and ran. No! Grud! The man in that terrible conflagration wasn't Mal. He must have given the driver his gun and used him as a substitute. Now that I think about it, I remember seeing Mal go near the emergency exit window. He staged a shootout with the police, busted out the window, and then shot the building. After that, he made use of the ensuing chaos to escape. Even Haru and I were able to elude the police at the time. It would have been a simple job for him. I have to hurry. Mal is still alive. Unadulterated dread descended upon Usami Haru when she saw the devil in her doorway. She immediately dashed backwards into the living room to
初
escape.
めて上がったがなかなかいい部屋に住んでいるな。
Mao spoke with his usual confidence. Haru's eyes were still wide open in shock as she retreated further backwards into the kitchen.
どうした宇佐美、声もないか。
生きていたか。
生きていたぞ。
チョコレートでももらいに来たか。
Mao grinned.
私のために頑張ったわけではなかろ
じゃあなんだ。
う。もちろんお前に地獄を味わわせるためだ。
Mao advanced on Haru. The emptiness of his expression seemed suited to the grave. I can read it. Auto. Or eventually. Oh wait, no, don't do auto. Don't do auto. Don't do auto. Okay, forgot. What did he say? He said,
生きていたぞ。
yeah, it doesn't have a voice line for this. Of course, I would have loved to drop everything and go see my dear old dad as soon as possible, but there were a couple loose ends I needed to tie up first. Haru proceeded further into the kitchen. She felt around for the kitchen knife. She grabbed air once, twice. Where is it? Hurry! Mao was getting closer. Haru eventually grabbed a pan instead. She removed the lid and chucked it at her foe. The boiling, rubbing chocolate splattered about, but failed to reach Mao's face. What was that? Okay. Mao's smile was long gone. His emotions had apparently been entirely rooted out, and his expression bore not one iota of hesitation. He was the angel of death himself. Haru waited for the moment that Mao stepped over a chocolate-drenched tile. When he did, she rushed him like a berserker. Mao noticed her attack and took a stance against it, but she continued her tackle regardless. The Reaper had fumbled ever so slightly. She followed through with an uppercut to the jaw. He dodged as if he had predicted her next move. The result saw Haru losing her balance and tumbling to the living room floor.
終わりか。
Mao looked down at Haru as she lay on the ground. His eyes followed her as religiously as if she just sat down in the electric chair. Something was different about Mao. He wasn't up to his usual games. He had something deeper, something more sinister in store for her today. Sweat trickled from her forehead. She squeezed her fist tight in an attempt to quench their fearful trembling. My sworn enemy is here! Her mother's murderer, whom she had failed to kill with her own hands, had reappeared before her very eyes once more. This was a heaven-sent opportunity. Haru rose to her feet and glared into Mao's lifeless eyes. Hatred erupted within her. Even if she has to go down with him, strength filled Haru's every limb, preparing her for what must be done. A gunshot suddenly rang out. Mao writhed. He had been hit in the shoulder. Blood spurted from the wound, staining his suit red. Haru looked over to where the shot had been fired from. Kyousuke stood in the doorway, holding a gun at the ready. He fired a second shot, but it did not make its target. Mao groaned and savagely charged Kyousuke. Mao! I pulled the trigger without hesitation. Unfortunately, despite being only a few yards away, I missed. Mao reached inside his suit. He pulled out something black, the gun. But then, for some reason, he just threw it away.
どけ!
He delivered a blow to my stomach. His strike caused me to lurch forward. Before I was brought to my knees, I raised my gun once more. Before I could fire a shot, he wrenched my wrist. My gun fell to the floor. Mao delivered one final kick before running out the door.
Kyousuke-kun!
Haru, are you okay?
私は大丈夫です。
Yeah, same here. I managed to straighten out my knees as they're on the verge of collapse.
追いましょう!
Hey! Haru dashes right past me and heads outside. Wait! It's too dangerous. Wait until we call the police. Heck, even the Soniyama group. I looked for the gun I dropped on the floor. It's gone. Did Haru take it? I snatch up the gun that Mao had tossed aside and chase after Haru. There's something weird about all this. Why did Mao run away? He pulled out a gun, but didn't even bother using it. Did he not come to kill Haru? What is he up to? And where on earth did he run off to? I can hear Asami's footsteps behind me. The wound in my shoulder is throbbing. Asami gave pursuit as predicted. My legs are starting to get unsteady. I wanted to take her to a place with more people around, but I guess things don't always go perfectly. Alright, Kyousuke, this will be your final trial. I'll make sure you get a taste of hell as well. I will never reform. You'll receive no loving quarter from me, little brother. No, that's not true. It is precisely our fraternal bond that prevents me from letting you off the hook as things stand. I see a little park to my left. There are no swings or slides. It boasts nothing but a tiny sandbox. I'd say it's a worthy playground to serve as the backdrop for Mao's grand finale. The question, what was it that served to drive Usami harder? The answer, a thirst for revenge accompanied by a degree of obsession. Just hearing the word Mao was enough to revive in her mind the spectacle of that day. The sounds of gunfire and screams, the sights of soaring limbs and dangling organs, and the nightmare will only get worse. She must now kill or be killed. Thus, she pursues him. She carries with her the gun Kyousuke had dropped, despite her utter lack of firearms training. Mao's voice surfaces in her mind.
母は最後までお前のことを案じていた。娘だけは助けてくださいと何度も頭を下げた。
Mao provoked Haru to play with her.
お前もそうだ、宇佐美春。やっと私に巡り会えた。お前はただの死に損ない。お前に必要なのは愛でも友情でもなく、敵であり悪であり、そう固くできる思い込みだ。
During this long battle, Mao had placed a curse on the hero.
だから、バイオリンも捨てたのだろう。
Demons have always had a knack for taking advantage of the weakness within people's hearts. Haru had already lost all self-control. She knew what she had to do. No one would be able to get through to her now. She'll chase him down and kill him without a second of hesitation. The only question was how. Haru had already completely forgotten the gun she so tightly gripped. I ran after Haru and Mao. My pursuit took me through a quiet residential district. Suddenly, I saw Haru turn a corner to the left. That path leads to a small park, if I recall correctly. Only, I was filled with dread. I caught a glimpse of Haru's face as she left the road. There was no sign of the aloof girl I knew so well. She had a terrifying look on her face as she chased down her prey, one that I had never seen before. It reminded me of some old myth or legend. After vanquishing demons for so long, the hero himself became corrupt with evil. So that's it? It was at that moment that I finally understood Mao's plan. It was a scheme of profound magnitude. I was attacked by a wave of despair. It's all over. I found myself looking up at the sky. Why do I look up, despite knowing that there is no God to find there? For whatever reason, I can't help but look to the heavens when I imagine what is about to happen. Haru. I'm so sorry. I guess I was the only one who thought we had finally severed these chains of revenge. I guess I was the only one who thought we had finally brought an end to this karma. Maybe if we had just had a little more time, we could have truly understood each other. If we had just had the opportunity to talk a little more. What are you doing, Kyousuke? Someone whispered into my ear. My head throbbed as if someone's fist had just knocked me senseless. There's only one beast who would ever do such a thing to me. It could only be the man who died protecting me. Oh, I see what you mean. I guess I'll try taking a page out of your book. We've known each other for a long time now, after all. Very well. The beast grinned. Looks like I just can't help being your son, huh? I release the gun's safety and head to the park. I lean against a tree trunk in the center of the park, awaiting her action. Her shoulders are heaving. Her eyes look no less than possessed. She's been transfigured into the very image of the Mao that I had hoped for. The safety is off. She's holding the gun properly with both hands. All she has to do is pull the trigger. Even an amateur wouldn't miss at this range. There aren't many people around, but a bigger crowd will be sure to gather upon hearing the gunshot. The gun in Usami's hand shakes. It's clearly not out of hesitation, though. She's overcome with exaltation and relief over finally being liberated from this nightmare. Her finger moves to the trigger. Die! She shouts through disabled hair. A figure suddenly appears behind Usami. Very good. After all, I tried to ensure that Kyousuke would not have the time to directly stay Usami's hand. Gunshots crack through the air. One shot lands its target in my stomach. A burning pain soon gnaws at the entire area. I see. So this is how it turns out. That gun is easy to aim, even for an amateur. I wince from the impact of the shot. But even still, I can sense Usami's surprise at the fact that the gunshots came from behind her. She collapses straight to the ground, like she had been struck by a bolt of lightning. My vision starts to mist over. But I have no complaints with this conclusion. In fact, now, my plan has been realized. Huh? Mao. After shooting off all the bullets in the gun, I approached Mao. Haru was laying collapsed against the park's bared earth. I immediately took up her gun and stashed it away in my pocket. The event caused an uproar in the surrounding residential area. People screamed and shouted over what had just transpired. Among the commotion, I could hear someone calling the police. To my left, a middle-aged man stood pointing at me. And before me sat a man who watched over the entire spectacle with a satisfied grin.
Kyousuke. Yoku yatta.
I knew why Mao had come here to meet his end. There could only have been one reason. Dad, Samik-chan Hochochikazu is dead, isn't he? Mao nodded slowly.
父は心臓の持病を持っていた。知っているか？
I shook my head.
だろうな。だからお前は救われんのだ。
The steadily closing eyes flooded once again with tears. And you predicted it, didn't you? Or rather, you planned for the worst-case scenario. Getting Dad out of prison was one thing, but allowing him to start a new life was another beast entirely. He was an old man, and you had your doubts as to whether or not he would survive the long boat trip.
不安は現実となった。そう。私が殺したようなものだ。
Did you get to see him?
いや、遅かった。
Mao continued, struggling beneath a sadness too heavy for his shoulders.
地獄でいくらでも父に詫びよう。だが、あれでよかったとも私は考える。不当な判決を下したこの国に殺されるよりも、せめて最後に希望を持たせてやれればと、私はテロを断行した。
And all the while, you provoked Haru. He chuckled faintly.
はるか。
Sad attempts at mockery caused blood to dribble from his mouth. Despite it, he continued on.
京介よ、なぜ母のそばにいてやらなかった。私は言ったはずだ。母を頼んだと。なぜあの借金取りの養子になどなった。
I could not answer. It was to escape a life of extreme poverty and eventually come back together. It was to become even more rich and powerful than his Igonzo himself, and then make the many people who look down on our family rue their behavior. Whatever answer I might give, it would only be an excuse to Samajima Kyouhei.
金か。金だろうな。金はいつでも戦いを招く。金は意志を持つ。戦争もそうだった。
He paused for a fit of coughing.
だが、金の奴隷になるような弱い人間が私は大嫌いでな。
I know. That's why he had me pull the trigger.
天津さえお前はニック・キュウサミの娘と恋をした。
It was only natural he couldn't forgive me. It would take magnanimity and power of the Buddha himself to simply allow our
強く
happiness.
あれ、京介。お前は償うべきだ。分かっているようだがな。
Yes, that is why I chose to pull the trigger.
そこの少女はお前と違って柔軟ではなかったようだ。せいぜい目を覚まさせてやるんだな。復讐に意味はないと。
He sneered at himself.
まさに浅井金蔵の言う通りだったか。
The fool who had sought salvation through revenge smiled.
京介。私を撃ち殺したお前がどうなるか分かっているな。
I nodded.
そうか。ならば私を憎むがいい。憎悪は人を。
He was about to say something, then looked down, catching his mistake.
いや、愛も。
His sentence trailed off into the ether, never to be finished. Snow continued to pile up on what was now nothing more than a silent, motionless swamp of flesh. I cannot pity him, nor can I cry. Mao remained the Mao to the very end. He died after a flawless execution of his sly, wicked, perfect plan. Just then, I remembered that my brother never did listen to classical music. Somehow, that was the saddest thing of all. There was no time to dwell on sorrow. Haru. She showed no sign of regaining consciousness. Come on, now. If you sleep out here, you'll catch a cold. I picked up Haru and headed back home. The people on the street continued gaping and pointing at me. I held my gun up to Haru to make it look like she was my hostage. The room was dark. I laid Haru down on my bed to rest and mulled over the situation alone. My eyes wandered to her violin case. It's a keepsake from Haru's mother. I wanted to hear it one more time, but I guess that dream will go unfulfilled. Unfulfilled dreams. Like her dream to be a violinist. I need to help make that dream come true. At this point, staying with her won't do her any good. In fact, my very presence would crush all chances of her success. Haru was already a known artist under the name of Mishima Haruna. She spoke of being retired and whatnot, but there's no doubt that in actuality, she wants to continue playing. If I stay by her side, the media will have a field day with her. I learned just how dreadful they can be back when I was a boy. That's why I hate standing out. Well, I guess with what's about to happen, I won't be able to avoid it. I'm sorry, Haru. I was the one who wanted to get you playing again. But now irony has come to bite me, as I won't even be able to be with you. I don't want to hear your music, after all. I'm a murderer now. Looks like the police sirens woke her up. I went out to the terrace and used my cell phone. Hey, Miki-chan. Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? I've got a little favor to ask. Yeah, but it'll be my last favor, so help me out here. Alright, will you remember me talking about a girl named Tsubiki? Evening, Kyouhei. I'm truly sorry, but I won't be able to make father's funeral. If you want to know why, turn on the news. Anyway, I have a little favor to ask. After some time passed, I heard the sound of the terrace window sliding open.
Kyousuke-kun.
Finally decided to get up. I tried to maintain a cold tone of voice.
何があったんです?
Does she not remember very well? That's fortunate. The police will be here shortly. I killed a man. Haru winced.
人って魔王ですよね?
That's right, and now the police will be taking me in.
そんな!
She jumped onto me, screaming.
待ってください!
She clung to me desperately.
おかしいじゃないですか!
She made no attempt to hide her flowing tears.
だってあれは正当防衛じゃ!
Don't be ridiculous. I continued coldly. He was unarmed, and I could have called the police at any time. Despite that, I chose to chase down a fleeing, wounded man and shoot him multiple times. What part of that is self-defense? Furthermore, I'm in the possession of contraband, an illegal firearm. I could have gotten rid of it at any time. I'm completely painted as a murderer here. The fact that the victim was my own brother is just the icing on the cake.
でも魔王は極悪人で死刑になって当然なんですよ!
That has nothing to do with this. She's probably screaming and crying about silly, obvious things because she feels that this is all her fault.
そんな... こんなことって...
Her breath was frantic.
ごめんなさい. 私も罰を受けます.
I steeled my nerves and spoke. What are you talking about, Usami? Being called by her family name seems to have dragged her back to her senses. What crime are you allegedly guilty of?
私のせいで京介君が引き金を引いたんです。私を止めるにはもう間に合わないと思ったから京介君が撃ったんです。気づくべきだったんです。罠だったんです。あんな人目のつくような公園に逃げ込んでさも力尽きたように木の幹に寄りかかるなんておかしいんです。
She's right. It was all part of Mao's perfect plan. He lured Haru out, purposely timing everything such that I would not be able to intervene directly. Pulling the trigger was the only means I had to stop her. Mao had intended on making either me or Haru out to be a murderer, and there was no way I could allow Haru to commit such a sin. She has a future ahead of her. A bright future filled with the lush melodies of her violin. I have no idea what you're talking about. You didn't do a thing.
私は銃をあれ
Her memory must be vague. A gun? What are you talking about? You didn't have a gun. I need to persuade her.
そんなはずは
I didn't come across anyone on my way to the park. Most likely, no witnesses saw Haru chasing Mao with a weapon.
でもそんなはずは
You didn't do anything. Got it?
嫌だ
Please, just listen to me. I sent her the gravest look I could muster.
やだやだやだ
She pouted like a spoiled child.
好きなんだよ
I'm sorry.
大好きなんだよずっと好きだったんだよ
I'm so sorry.
一緒にいたいんだよなんでやっとそばに幸せに二人っきりで暮らせると思ったのにそばにいられると思ったのに
I could feel tears coming on, but there was no way I was going to let them out. I can't afford to just hold her close and cry. Getting caught up in my emotions here would only lead to hesitation. I see. You love me that much. Suddenly, you have a girlfriend or anything? Sure act like a grown-up hero. Dad always said girls weren't interested in that sort of thing, though. Just tell me already, yes or no? Oh, I never even thought about it. I guess it can't be helped then. Yeah, do you remember, if we even see each other again, I have to move soon. It'll have to be a fateful reunion, I guess. Romantic, don't you think? You're moving? Yeah. Why?
バイオリンの勉強するの
I remembered her weeping face as she bid farewell like it was just yesterday. That's why. That's why I pushed her away. She looked like an abandoned child as I turned my back on her. If you really love me that much, then you know what you have to do, don't you? You know what would make me the happiest, don't you? She knows. She's a smart one, after all. She calls after me in a hoarse voice. I step forward. Our time together has been a repetition of meetings and farewells. The cruel march of time once robbed me of my memories. By the time we reunited, she was all grown up. And now we must part again.
京介くんお願い
Only this time we will not be meeting again.
もう少しせめてもう少しだけでも
Another reunion will simply not be possible.
お願いします神様助けて彼を助けてください何も悪くないんです京介くんは何も
Snow fell upon her trembling shoulders and melted away. The white sky above decorated her in a shining blanket as she prayed to God. She's a good girl. Perhaps God will actually listen to the prayers of a beautiful girl like her. Unfortunately, I'm not as innocent as she says. I've committed a number of sins, both light and heavy. I've come this far by living a life of deceit. I've cheated many people, Suzuki and Canon most of all. I wasn't able to save my mother, my father, or my brother. Nevertheless, Mal has left a final trial for me at the cost of his very own life. Very well then, Mal. I accept your challenge. Kyousuke. A number of police cars had already surrounded the entrance. I put my hands up to signify my surrender. In addition, I set my 2 firearms down in a spot where the police could see them. They booked me in the standard fashion. Then, on the night of February 14th, I was dragged away in handcuffs. 3 days passed. Each one of those days, I was interrogated without a moment's rest. Since I was suspected of murdering the criminal behind an incident of unprecedented terrorism, it was clear they didn't want to leave a single stone unturned in their investigation. I was taken back to my apartment so they could take photos. We also visited Mao's final seat under the tree and the supposed murder weapon. Absolutely nothing escaped the flash of the camera. Each night, I was taken to the lock-up cells at the back of the station in handcuffs, dragged by a rope tied around my waist. All of my belongings, including my cell phone and wallet, had been confiscated by the police. They took my fingerprints and then had me stripped naked to take my measurements. They took my belt and shoelaces, replacing my footwear with sandals emblazoned with the number 40. Once I was marched into my cell and got a glimpse of the mesh windows blocked by iron bars, the apprehension really started to set in. Immediately after I was arrested, they asked if I had a lawyer. I guess I could say I did, but now without Gonzo backing me, I highly doubt he would be so kind as to come to my aid. I ended up using a court-appointed lawyer. He was a middle-aged man with entirely empty eyes. His subdued mannerisms didn't assuage my concerns about his lack of motivation. After that, I met with the public prosecutor. After being told of my right to remain silent, my right to an attorney, and so on and so on. Fourth, I was then put back in my cell to continue my life of custody. The interrogation suddenly grew more severe. They started asking the same questions over and over, and kept pushing the same documents under my nose. The section chief of the 1st Investigation Division himself participated in the investigation. He was a middle-aged man that relentlessly smiled, but it was always accompanied by a sharp glint.
だいたいわかったよ。じゃあもう一回聞くがね。
I've already lost count of how many times that would make total.
浅井京介君。君は
My name is not Azai, Semijima. I had my adoption officially annulled not too long ago.
失礼。聞いていたね。では鮫島君に聞こう。君は先の広域封鎖事件の主犯と目される魔王の弟だという。
Yes, without a doubt.
うん。それについては我々も目下調べを進めている。だがそうすると、君は兄を殺したということになるね。
Yes, as I've already told you several times now. For whatever reason, the detective was tapping his finger on his desk.
殺人事件の経緯はこうだ。君が自宅に戻ると、兄が少女に暴行していた。少女の名前は宇佐美春だったね。
Yes. The detective picked up on my slight agitation.
安心していい。少女は未成年だ。何かあっても世間に実名が公表されるようなことはない。
Maybe not, but regardless, they'll make a big fuss over her as Girl A. Please, go on. You need courage when dealing with a grizzled police officer.
同棲していたのかい？
Lies won't work here. Yes.
だろうね。あの日はバレンタインデー。手作りチョコレートの跡が床にこびりついていたよ。
Yes, that's right. Go on. What the heck? I have no idea what he's getting at. Or, I guess, maybe he's just trying to unnerve me or something.
少女の危険を察した君は所持していた拳銃で躊躇なく兄を撃った。ちなみに拳銃はどこで入手したんだい？
As I've stated before, I found it during the blockade incident.
そうだ。だが君はそれをいつでも手放すことができた。なぜ警察に届け出るなりしなかったんだ？
I wanted to sell it off to a Yakuza guy I know.
つい忘れていたのでもなく？
Correct. Like I said last time, I committed quite a few crimes back on Central Boulevard, so I was afraid of getting involved with the police. I wasn't lying. The detective nodded profoundly.
君がセントラル街で行ったことが罪に当たるかどうかはまた後日別の者が取り調べを担当する。さて話を戻そう。
Very well.
君の兄は発砲にひるんだのかマンションから逃亡を図ったという。殺人鬼が逃走したのは現場の指紋、血痕、足跡などから我々も確証を得ている。
I see.
けれど君はそれを追いかけた。なぜかな？
Everything was happening so fast, I don't really recall.
慌てていたと。
Yes.
慌てながら自宅から100メートル先の公園まで追いかけ、木の幹に寄りかかっていた兄に向け、無我夢中で銃を撃ちまくった。
Correct.
確かに気持ちは察する。君の兄は稀有な凶悪犯だ。殺さなければ殺されると思った君はとても冷静ではいられなかった。となると、検察官の対応も変わってくる。言っている意味がわかるかな？
Yes. He's trying to say that even though I murdered someone, if I was in a questionable mental state at the time, my crime will probably be treated lightly. I was starting to see a tiny light at the end of the tunnel. However, at that moment, the glint in the detective's eyes suddenly changed.
すると不審な点がある。
What?
君は2丁の拳銃を所持していた。
Yes, what about them?
1丁は殺人鬼が落としていったというね。
Right.
確かに疑いはないようだ。遺体から検出した指紋と拳銃に付着していた指紋が一致している。
Then what's the problem?
わからないかな。君は拳銃を持ち替えているんだ。
I pray that the surprise I felt didn't show on my face.
君は自室で撃った拳銃を手放し、わざわざ兄が落とした拳銃を拾って外に飛び出した。なぜかな。君はほとんど錯乱していたんだろう。よくそんな余裕があったものだ。
I don't know. I don't really remember.
君が自室で使用した拳銃にはすでに実弾が入っていなかった。君はそれを知っていて新しい銃に持ち替えたんじゃないのかな。
Oh, so the gun that Haru ran off with didn't have any bullets left in it. I wasn't sure how to answer his question. If I admit to that, it will be used as evidence to say that I was in a clear state of mind. But the detective's next words were enough to freeze my blood.
事件の参考人として君の彼女に事情を聞いた。すると興味深い話が出てきた。殺人鬼を追って部屋を飛び出したのは自分だと少女は言っている。
I couldn't think of an excuse.
京介君は彼女の後を追って部屋を出てきたらしいが、どうなの？
That may be true. What about it exactly?
ここで一つ仮説を話そう。君は無謀にも殺人鬼を追いかける彼女を引き止めるべく後を追いかけた。公園にたどり着いた君は殺人鬼と彼女が対峙している姿を発見した。彼女の身の危険を察した君が背後から駆け寄り殺人鬼を撃ち殺した。
This was an invitation from the detective. An invitation for me to say yes here and then fall into his trap.
しかしだ、近所の住民の証言がある。公園から死ねという女性の絶叫が聞こえたという。
This is the end of the line. I guess tricking the police was simply too daunting of a task.
君の彼女が叫んだのか本人に聞いてみたが、覚えていないという答えが返ってきた。なかなか正直で理知的な子だね。まず嘘はついていないと思うのだが、状況から考えるに死ねと叫んだのは彼女以外にありえない。
My hands froze and my breathing grew shallow.
すると彼女には殺意があったと推測される。君の兄はその段階では武器を所持していなかった。さらに君は言ったな。兄は木の幹にもたれかかって観念した様子だったと。つまり彼女の身に危険は迫っていなかった。先ほどの仮説は否定される。彼女は兄を殺すつもりだった。そして
My heart was about to leap out of my ears.
おそらく彼女は拳銃を所持していた。
I could sense a slight dizzy spell coming on.
彼女は床に落ちた拳銃を拾ったかどうかはよく覚えていないというが、
My knees start to rattle.
実際には拳銃から彼女の指紋が検出された。
I'm such an idiot. Why didn't I think of the fingerprints? If this goes on, Haru is going to be charged with a crime.
が指紋はあったものの彼女が発砲した形跡はない。拳銃にはすでに弾がなかった。殺意があったにしてはやや間抜けと言わざるを得ない。彼女がそれだけ錯乱していたとも受け取れる。
Darn it. What should I do?
いずれにしても拳銃を握りしめ逃げる敵を追いかけ回しとどめを刺そうとしたのなら彼女を引っ張らなければならない。ああ、逮捕するという意味だよ。
For what crime? After pausing to think for a second, he responded.
目立つ容疑は銃刀法違反。同棲していたのだから君の部屋に拳銃があったと彼女も知っていただろう。いくらでも捨てる機会はあったはずだ。
That's not true. Haru didn't know. Is this yet another result of my carelessness?
その他過剰防衛、いや殺人未遂に当たるか。詳しく状況を調べてみなければはっきりしないがね。
Attempted murder? A cold sweat ran down my back.
さて今の話を踏まえてもう一度君の供述を聞きたい。
What should I do?
どうした？
What can I do? Haru is going to be arrested. She didn't actually kill him. She was in a complete state of panic at the time. In light of all that, I doubt she'll be charged with anything major. But she did use a gun. She has a future ahead of her. Who the heck would want to listen to an ex-con play the violin? I doubt anyone would bother to understand her trauma involving Mao. The media will have a field day. They'll only look at the surface of things and try to bring her down. I should have just thrown away that darn gun. No, I guess since Mao intentionally dropped his own gun, the result would have been the same either way.
どうしたんだ？急に黙り出して。
Think. I bite my lip in an attempt to send blood to my hazy, panicking brain. I can't lose here. This is my brother's final trap.
さあ、最初から自供したまえ。
The detective behind me stepped towards me threateningly. The other detective across the table raised his hand to stop him.
君の自白は裁判でも大きな証拠になるんだよ。
Confession? I remember reading in a book or something that in Japanese trials, there's no stronger evidence than a confession from the criminal. Something about once you sign your confession, you'll be found guilty, even if you were innocent. I have no idea if any of that is true. I have no idea, but I have to go for it. Fine, Mr. Hotshot Detective. I'll give you what you want. I burst into a chuckle. I guess that turned out to be a useless piece of garbage, though.
あの女、彼女のことか。
His eyes grew more stern than before. Her prints are on the gun that I took home with me from Central Boulevard because I made her hold it.
握らせと。
He shook his head.
そんな話は彼女から聞いていないが。
Well, yeah, no, I did it while she was sleeping. I froze my heart over. Anyway, the stupid little girl didn't even have the slightest clue that I had a gun. That much is a fact. Nothing I've said thus far should conflict with any future evidence of her testimony.
興味深い話が出たな。それで拳銃を握らせてどうするつもりだった？
I was gonna have her kill Mal, Samajima Kyouhei. She was terrified of the guy day in, day out. I figured she would have jumped at it.
君はなぜ京平を殺すつもりなんだ？
Use your head, will you? We have this thing called payback in the Yakuza.
京平が君の元養父、浅井権蔵を殺したからだ。
That's right. Worship that man. Freaking worship him. Gonzo is the bravest, strongest, greediest son of on this planet. He was truly the ideal villain. It's technically not a lie either. But getting put in the slammer for killing Mal, forget that. There's no profit in that at all. Now, I would have preferred to kill him right when he came to the door, but...
確かに京平が部屋に踏み込んできた時点では正当防衛で裁判を争えただろう。
So then I figured it would be a good chance to sick that girl. Just as you concluded, my gun didn't have any more bullets in it. This is the biggest hurdle. I just need to pray there were no witnesses. As long as there's no one who saw Haru carry a gun on her. As far as I know, there wasn't anyone else on the road when Haru was running off to the park after Mal. And as soon as I got there, I took the gun from her. Please let no one have seen that sight. The girl ran after Kyouhei just like I thought she would. Sure would have helped if she kicked him to death or something. Whatever, anything, I don't care at all. But instead she decided she would just pass out on the spot. I guess she was scared or something.
つまり少女はその時、いや、一度も自ら拳銃に触れてはいないと。
He signaled something to a person standing behind me. He was probably sending him off to the scene to try to find some proof. Well, yeah, I guess that's what it comes down to. But if I had just had a couple more bullets, I would have given her my gun.
しかし君にはもう一丁の拳銃があった。それをなぜ狂乱する少女に手渡さなかった？
The girl ran off without listening to me. This is also true. By the time I caught up to her, she had already fainted. Useless, I tell you. Just then, the large detective behind me flirted his eyes in anger. You little punk! He glared at me with a ferocity that could make the Yakuza jealous. Still, I remained unfazed.
少し待て。
Sharp one shot from the detective's eyes.
なるほど。君は確かに浅井工業の影役として生意気なことをしていたようだ。泣かされた企業も多いと聞く。
Yeah, what about it?
では聞くが、 魔王が生きていたことをどうして知っていた？
The gears in my head turned as I analyzed the intent behind the detective's question. Basically, if I didn't know that Mao was not the burning man on Central Boulevard, then I would have had no reason to make Haru hold my gun. After all, I did so with the intent of having to kill Mao. But I can't tell him that I heard it from Boulevard. If I make it sound like I only found out moments earlier, he'll point out that I wouldn't have had the time to give Haru my gun before that point. I should be asking the dunces here in the fuzz why they seem to think he was dead. I saw Mao escape from that burning bus. If they investigate, they will indeed find that we had approached dangerously close to the bus. But I lost sight of him in the chaos, so after that, I gave that girl my gun in anticipation of my next chance at revenge. The expression on the detective's face gradually twisted further and further into indignation.
あの女というが、少女はお前のことを心から愛しているようだったぞ。
I could have sworn someone stabbed me straight through the heart. A sharp sting radiated through my entire body.
お前を信じて、
I don't know how
お前の帰りを待ち、慣れない手つきでチョコレートを作っていたんだぞ。
What is he doing? I forced my nearly twitching lips into a smile. Oh, she had it that bad, huh? That's hilarious. Maybe I have what it takes to be a gigolo. My chest felt ready to burst. She may be clever, but she's an amateur when it comes to matters of the heart. It felt awful. I hated myself for having to trample over her feelings. I continued spinning my hateful words as each one tore at my chest. Money is everything to me. You'd think I would want a broke, unprofitable chick like that. She was completely useless to me, except maybe as a patsy for her. Chocolate? Don't make me laugh. It hurt. I remembered Haru's smile. Her innocent smile, merely excited to have an opportunity to give me a present. But I have to continue. For emotions brewed in my heart. As long as we live and breathe, our way is paved with ice. A person's life is not comprised of 4 repeating seasons, but a year-long winter wilderness. Whether or not you stop to wipe your blood or tears, they will inevitably freeze over. Mother frickin' chocolate. Oh, retard, that's not the most retarded thing I've ever heard. Don't waste my time with that nonsense. Suddenly, I felt something in front of me. The detective who was behind me had grabbed my coat. You little brat! Good, get angry. Lose your cool and cease your pursuit of the truth behind this case. Hey, watch it, man. That hurts. I'll tell on you to my lawyer. After jerking me around a bit, he throws me down to the ground. Good. That's good. Jump at the obvious evil in front of you. This is no ordinary evil. The only issue left is Haru. She'll desperately plead for my innocence, but now the detectives will only see her as a poor innocent girl who had been tricked and manipulated. There's no turning back now. The police department's forensic labs and the sharp intuition of this veteran detective might be able to see through my lie. But no matter what happens, I will never revoke my testimony. Once the sentence is handed down, I won't file an appeal, no matter what that sentence may be. After this trial ends, this whole case will be all over. Haru's a smart one. I'm sure she'll understand. And then she'll play the violin again.